Now, you didn't play for Brian Daboll, but you have an idea of what he would look for in a quarterback. And that position has weighed them down the last couple of years as they've gone through it. Daniel Jones got hurt in 23, and obviously things went off the rails at the position in 24 for them. Daboll and the GM there, Joe Shane, are going into their fourth year now. This is obviously very much a win now sort of year for that team and that program. And so, like, as we go through the different fits here, right, and like what quarterback would fit, I want to like just throw out the idea of Aaron Rodgers there, because I think he's sort of established it. As Stafford would have been a good fit for either of those teams. When you watched Aaron Rodgers play with the Jets last year, and you look at who Aaron Rodgers is, and knowing what you know from having been in the league at the same time with Aaron for such a long time, and then knowing what Daboll is going to be looking for in his quarterback without, again, having played directly for him. How do you think that fit would play out? Like, how do you see that potential marriage between the Giants and Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think Aaron, another guy that I've looked up to and would sit there and study the way that he plays the game, the way he throws the football, and still can do it. I mean, there was throws last year you were like, that's Aaron. You know what I mean? And as the year went on, and I think a lot of people have to understand, as a quarterback coming back from an Achilles injury, we saw with Kirk Cousins down in Atlanta, that's a tough injury to come back to, because those are integral parts of your drop, the way you plant and throw, all of those things. And I think as the year went on and he got further away from that injury, you saw more of what Aaron is and who he's been. And so when I look at him as a player and how he would fit in a Daboll type offense, which obviously Daboll's connection to New England with Josh McDaniels, a very similar style of offense, I think Aaron's skill set fits that well. And when you're the Giants, as you mentioned, you're kind of like in a win now situation. There's probably not many other guys that are going to be out there that you could bring in who's a veteran guy who's been there, done that. Now, I think the one thing you got to really sit there and think about is his level of commitment, because that was the big thing in New York, right? Like, he missed the mandatory mini camp and all of those things. And so how do you weigh that because if you're signing Aaron, you're probably bringing somebody else in as a young guy to maybe develop behind him for a year or two. How are you going to go about that and say, look, we need you here in the offseason. We need you to be here, be a leader, show these guys what a Super Bowl caliber quarterback does, all of those things. Because I think a lot of people made a big deal out of that in New York. And it sounds like, whether it was true or not, whether he could continue to do the McAfee show, if that played into his moving on from the Jets. It's when you bring in a guy like Aaron, there's a lot of things that go along with it. But when it comes to playing football, I think that he's obviously going to be more than capable of running that offensive system. And Daboll, I think, with his evolution of the way that he's developed that system, really fits into Aaron's skill set and what he's capable of doing.
How does that fit then? Is it just, the fact that he's another one of these guys that kind of has a supercomputer for football in his head and like is able to process? And I know that system puts a ton on the quarterback, right? Like, more so than a lot of other systems where, I know, like the McVay Shanahan system, in most cases, not all, but most cases, like, a lot's on the center, right? Mm-hmm. Like, to get the quarterback playing fast. Like, that system puts a lot on the quarterback, which is why a Stafford or a Rodgers would be a good fit for it, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we could turn this into a 3-hour conversation on the West Coast philosophy of the calls at the line and let's call it the Earhart-Perkins system, the Patriots system, the Daboll. But when you have a guy who's played for as long as Aaron, I'm sure that he would pick it up very quickly. And in all honesty, would probably love the freedom, because Aaron's always been a guy, signal a route, do those things. And I think the way that Daboll has kind of evolved his offense, there's a lot where he's in the shotgun, where you're going to let a single guy, whether it's Malik Neighbors, whoever, and you put him one-on-one and you say, okay, Aaron, when you get out there, give him a signal, whichever route you want, a la what he used to do with Devontae, right? So I think, skill set wise, I think Aaron can still throw it with the best of them. Obviously, he's going to be another year removed from that Achilles injury, but I think you got to sit there and say, okay, we definitely would consider bringing you in, but like, what's your commitment level? Are you going to be here in the offseason? Are you going to show a young guy, what it's like to learn to be a professional quarterback, which Aaron has been for a long time?
I love the idea of it too, because like I thought about like, okay, like if you're not taking a quarterback at 3 then, or you're not trading up to 1, which they have had discussions with the Titans about moving up to 1, then you're freed up, and maybe you could take Travis Hunter there. Now all of a sudden you got Travis Hunter who's playing corner on defense for you, and maybe he's your third receiver because you're also getting Devontae Adams as part of the package, and you got Malik Neighbors and Andrew Thomas coming back at left tackle, and it looks really good on paper, which the Jets did too, which is
right.
Where I want to go. Where I want to go to the next part of this question, and this is like a non-football question, but like I think Aaron has a hair across his ass about the way the last couple of years went in New York, right?
Yeah.
For a player like that, how do you think that can actually create value for the new team? Where a player comes in pissed off, I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shove this right down their throat, because I think like that would be part of the storyline, right? Like if he went to the Giants, it would be like all that stuff that happened with the Jets. You know what? Hey guys, I'm right here. I'm still in Jersey, and I'm going to show you guys what you're missing. Like how much tangible value do you think that can actually create?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely some definitely like truth or possibility that obviously ultimately it's up to Aaron and where he feels like his competitive level is at. Does he want to continue to do it? I mean, at this point, really, Aaron, what else does he have left to prove? He's won a Super Bowl. He's been an MVP. It's more to him at this point, like, do I want to go out on my terms and feel good about the way my career ends? And being as competitive as he is, I could definitely see that. And I could definitely see, hey, I don't even have to, I can just go across, the river and now I'm with the Giants and yeah, I'm here. And if it works out, because to your point, like getting a guy like that can really free you up when it comes to the draft, right? You don't have to take I'm not saying you don't have to at 3, but you're more open to maybe if Travis Hunter's there, you take him, whatever it might be, or you could trade back and accumulate some picks. So it's definitely an interesting take on it. And to me, I think with Daboll, I think he's well respected. Like I said, I never was there with him in the building, but I feel like I know him because we've crossed so many different paths. I've talked to him. He's a very well respected coach, and in my opinion, he's a great offensive play caller and a leader of men. So I think Aaron would go in hungry, knowing that he has a good coach with the offensive system. You got Malik Neighbors. Maybe you bring Devontae over. And as you said, now you may have the ability to just draft the best player at 3, as opposed to feeling like, man, we didn't really do anything in free agency to address the quarterback position. We got to take one of these guys.
All right. Well, as somebody who just retired, then this will be the last thing on Rodgers. But I am sort of interested, like, how real is that going out on your own terms? You know what I mean? Because most guys don't get to. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's just the reality of it. Like, and that's something I'm sure you had to think about over the last few years. Right. Like, and I know guys who I know guys who are very open about it. I'm going till the wheels fall off, and I have no problem. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem like being told when to leave. And then there are other guys that do value the idea of going out on their own terms. Like, how big a factor is that when you're considering whether or not to keep playing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, it was more not so much about myself at that point. It was about my family and what was best for them. And obviously, you look at the opportunities and you weigh those and think about, well, is it worth putting my family through this again? And so for Aaron, it could be totally different. It could be, I felt like I came to New York with big, lofty expectations. Obviously, get hurt in the first game of the first year. The second year doesn't go well. Coach is fired. Offensive coordinators are fired. All of that. Maybe that presents a chip on his shoulder and says, I don't want to go out like that. But maybe it doesn't. I mean, look, Aaron's a unique guy. Like we've seen, haven't caught up on the Netflix special yet, but like you really don't know. Yeah. You really don't know, what it is, but being a guy who's competed as long as he has, I have to imagine there's got to be a part of him that says, I know I can finish better than that. So it's really up to him. And then, like I said, the Giants saying like, okay, we'd love to have you, but are you going to be here in the offseason? Because this is a new system. We need you to build chemistry with these guys and then see where that level of commitment is.